And I was like, oh my God, she's so magical. She did.
Wow.
She did the thing. And I was right. I am special.
Different from every other celebrity on earth. You felt it every time she remembered a fan's name. Every time she sent flowers to someone she'd never met. Every time she did something so impossibly human in the middle of being impossibly famous that it made you wonder how she does it. But what Anne Hathaway just revealed on national television 3 days ago is proof that what you felt was real. And it's the kind of story that only makes sense if you understand one thing. Taylor Swift, in the middle of performing in front of 70,000 screaming people, stopped what she was doing to make sure one woman in the crowd knew she was seen. Not photographed, not tagged, seen, and when you hear what the note said, you'll understand why Anne Hathaway called her magical. Because that's exactly what she is. Subscribe to this channel because we talk about Taylor Swift the way she deserves to be talked about, with love, with understanding, and with the kind of attention she gives to everyone around her. Here's what happened. In the summer of 2024, Anne Hathaway was in Germany filming a movie called Mother Mary. It's an A24 film where she plays a tortured pop star at the peak of her fame who is unraveling behind the curtain. The movie opened in theaters yesterday, and the story of how it got made is now inseparable from Taylor Swift. Anne was filming in Bonn, Germany. 71 miles away in a city called Gelsenkirchen, Taylor Swift was performing the Eras Tour. 71 miles, close enough to feel the gravity. And Anne felt it. She packed up her family and drove the distance just to be in that stadium. Think about who Anne Hathaway is for a moment. This is an Oscar winner. This is the woman who played Fantine, who played Catwoman, who has stood on the biggest stages in Hollywood for over 2 decades. And she got in a car with her kids and drove an hour because she needed to see Taylor Swift perform live. That alone tells you something about the kind of gravity Taylor carries. But what happened inside that stadium is the part nobody expected. Anne described it on The Late Show. This week, she said Taylor came out on stage and, in her words, the whole place exploded. She said Taylor makes the audience feel so loved. And then she said something that stopped every Swiftie in their tracks. She said Taylor made her feel so loved, not the crowd, her, personally. But the way it happened is the part that will break your heart in the best possible way. Because Anne Hathaway did something in that crowd that every single one of us has done. And Taylor's response to it is proof of exactly who this woman really is. Picture this. Anne Hathaway is standing in a crowd of 70,000 people. The lights are everywhere. The music is shaking the ground. And at some point during the show, Anne looks up at the stage and she sees Taylor Swift waving. Not to the whole crowd, directly at her. And here is what Anne did next. She told herself she was imagining it. On national television, she described the exact thought that went through her head. She said, and these are her words, "Oh my God, Annie, you're so cute. You think Taylor Swift's waving at you right now?" Let that land for a second. An Oscar-winning actress, one of the most successful women in Hollywood, a woman who has been celebrated by the entire world. And her immediate instinct was to tell herself she wasn't special enough for Taylor Swift to notice her. She defaulted to, "You're imagining it. You're not that important." Every woman watching this knows that voice. It's the voice that tells you the compliment wasn't meant for you. The voice that tells you the promotion will go to someone else. The voice that tells you to sit down because nobody is looking at you anyway. Anne Hathaway, with all of her Oscars and all of her fame, heard that exact same voice. And she listened to it. She told herself to stop being silly. And what happened in the next 5 seconds is the reason this story has gone viral around the entire world today. Because the note that was handed to Anne Hathaway didn't just prove her right. It proved something about Taylor Swift that no award, no record sale, and no concert could ever prove on its own. Anne said she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned around, and there was a person standing behind her holding a folded piece of paper. And this person said 5 words. "Taylor wants you to have this." Anne opened the note, and written in Taylor Swift's own handwriting were these words. "I'm so happy you're here. I'm going to be enthusiastically waving at you." Read that again. "I'm so happy you're here. I'm going to be enthusiastically waving at you." Taylor Swift was in the middle of performing the highest grossing concert tour in human history. She was singing, she was dancing, she was managing costume changes, she was conducting an entire stadium of human emotion. And somewhere between all of that, she kept writing notes. She kept surprising fans. She kept seeing people. And now, 20 years later, an Oscar winner is on national television saying the word magical with tears in her eyes because Taylor Swift handed her a piece of paper that said, "I see you." That is not a PR strategy. That is a woman who has decided that being kind is more important than being cool. And that decision, made over and over again for 20 years, is why Taylor Swift doesn't just have fans. She has believers. So here's what I want to leave you with. And I want you to sit with this for a moment before you scroll past. Anne Hathaway stood in a crowd of 70,000 people and told herself she wasn't special enough to be noticed. She has an Oscar. She has a career most people would dream of. And still, her first instinct was to shrink, to tell herself the wave wasn't for her, to assume she was imagining the attention. Every woman watching this has had that moment. The moment where someone looked at you and your brain immediately said, "No, not you. They're looking at someone else." The moment where a compliment came your way and you deflected it because it felt too good to be true. The moment where you dimmed your own light because it felt safer to be invisible than to risk being seen and rejected. Taylor Swift saw Anne Hathaway in that crowd and refused to let her stay invisible. She wrote a note. She sent a messenger. She said, "I'm so happy you're here." And in doing so, she didn't just make Anne Hathaway's night. She reminded every woman watching this story that the voice in your head, the one that tells you to sit down, the one that tells you you're not special, the one that tells you nobody's waving at you, that voice is wrong. You are worth the wave. You are worth the note. You are worth being seen. Taylor Swift knows that. Anne Hathaway knows that now. And I hope you know it too. So here's what I want to know from you, and I want you to really think about this one. When was the last time someone made you feel truly seen? Not celebrated on social media. Not congratulated in a group text. Seen. The way Taylor saw Anne. The quiet, personal, "I notice you and I'm glad you're here" kind of seen. Because I believe everyone deserves a moment like that. And I believe it happens more than we realize. We just have to stop telling ourselves we're imagining it. Share your moment in the comments below. Because the most beautiful thing about this story isn't the celebrity. It's the feeling. And that feeling belongs to all of us. If this moved you, hit the like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications because we're following every beautiful chapter of Taylor's story. Share this video with a woman who needs to hear it today. Someone who has been telling herself she's not special enough to be noticed. Because she is. And I'll see you in the next one. Because trust me, the most beautiful stories about Taylor Swift aren't the ones about awards and records. They're the ones about notes and waves and the quiet magic of being seen